Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing good today. It's Wednesday. I just wanted to give you guys a little update and see how you guys are doing. This is Jamie with Redbird Stitches. Welcome to my channel, and welcome if you're new here, and also if you are a subscribed member. Thank you so much for coming back to see me again. I have just a couple updates for you. It's been a busy week, and but first off, you guys can see I actually got my sweater done. I'm gonna stand up so you can see it, okay? There are things that I wish were different. Like I made a size large, but this is a big large. So, and then also here on my button band, I followed the pattern and it said to use a size 3 crochet hook according to my pattern. So when I did, of course, it's pulling up on it because it's a smaller hook than what I did this portion with. I love the color, I love the style. I just wish that it was a bit smaller because see, my armpit is way out here. Of course, if I did that on both sides. So basically I'd love it to look like this, but that's a whole lot back there. But you know what? It is what it is. I worked my tail off on this. It's MJ's Off the Hook is the pattern. I've used her patterns in the past. So, oops, I'm gonna fall here. No, that wouldn't be good. I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to have somebody take my measurements. I think in my mind, according to my bra size, I was going by that typically. As far as around the bust area. So I think I'm gonna have to have my measurements done because this isn't the first time that I've made something and it's too big. But I am happy with the overall product because my stitches are beautiful. I followed the pattern to a T. I read it over. I didn't do a swatch, so I think that could be part of it. But the other thing is, and I wish I wouldn't have done this, when I was connecting, because it was the back piece, the back panel, and then you crocheted out and then you did the arms, okay, the sleeves, the back part of the sleeves. And then you did the front panel, both front panels, and then the other portion of the sleeves. So after you attached them, it wanted you to block it. And I did. I did exactly how it said. And remember, that was the debacle of the one sleeve. So I thought, well, I have to block it. I have to wet it so that the other sleeve will hopefully, match up. So I did. And that made everything stretch even more. And this is a superwash wool blend. So I was kind of bummed when I took the sweater out and I didn't pull it hard to block, like I just laid it out nicely flat to dry, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't stretch anything. It was just the amount, having it be totally wet. And when you're picking it up, I mean, it's heavy. Even though I'd squeezed out all the water, there was still a decent amount of weight pulling the fabric, the fibers, So the other thing is, I forgot to show you guys this when I stood up, but these are the sleeves. Now, I knew I was gonna have a situation with the sleeves. But if I were to build the cuff, it would be out here. I'm gonna sneeze. My allergies are horrible, so I apologize. Anyway, excuse me. So I opted to just roll up my sleeves. I have short arms, you know, I've always had my sleeves rolled up. 95% of my life, you know, my sleeves are rolled up. So it doesn't bother me that much. Now I would like to have the cuffs on it because I like the look of cuffs. But I can't, the only way I could fix it is if I stitched with my sewing machine like on a zigzag all the way around and then cut my work and then reattach or attach yarn and build the cuff afterward. You know, I just don't feel comfortable. It's not worth it to me at this point, because if I, for some reason, didn't catch the stitches and it started to unravel, I would unravel myself because it's been a big project. It's been a long project. So anyway, so that's been my finding. I finished it yesterday. I was so happy because I got to wear it. The temperature here in Florida dropped because we do that sometimes. So I got a couple cool days, and so I wore it today and I enjoyed it, you know. I did steam the button band and I pulled it, you know, to try and get it to be a better shape. I might consider blocking it just to see if I can get it to hold its shape better and become more of the length of the sweater. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's not gonna bother me. I wear jeans and boots and, you know, so I like that look. I just wish it was a little bit smaller because it's big. So I am thinking of making it again. Not right now, maybe in the fall, because I really just want a cardigan that fits me. And I think it's a learning curve. This is actually the second, well, my poncho, that's behind me. That's one wearable. Then I have a long vest that I absolutely love. And then I have the brown Brianna K sweater that's superwash wool. And that fits me perfect. So I guess I'm at 2 out of 4 fit me like I want it to. Like the long vest fits me perfectly, and I love that vest. And that was a Bag O' Day crochet pattern. So I think that I'm by far not done learning, you know. I wish I had things I would do differently is instead of, I think once I get my actual measurements, I have a lady that's one of my very good friends, and she sews for a living. She's a seamstress. So I'm gonna ask her to take my measurements and write them down so I can have them. And so like moving forward, I'm gonna just really double check the size chart as well. I think I'm going to, you know, it's different when you, like I held the front panels up to myself and I thought they're gonna be fine, and the sleeves as well. And then I had the debacle with the one panel, and it was too short. The sleeve was too short. And so I blocked it. And I feel like if I would have just left that one blocked and not blocked the rest of the sweater, it would have fit me better, and I would have had the chance of one thing being off. You know what I'm saying? That one part of the sleeve would have been the only thing that would be off. So in the future, they have these clips. I don't know if you guys have used them. I wish they were bigger. I haven't found them bigger, but these garment clips. Like you can, instead of, sewing your seams together, you can put these clips on it and then try on the piece, So I think what I'll do is in the future, really have some help in holding up the panels and maybe clipping them together to see how far I'm off before I get so far into it. That's the only thing I can think of. If you guys have some words of wisdom, please, by all means, help. I'm begging for help. And again, I think it just comes with practice and making mistakes. I mean, I've watched some of the other creators, and they will fix their mistakes like a year later or something. Maybe, as I get better, I'll be able to know how to take in garments easier. I don't know how to take in because of the pattern. With all of this pattern, I don't know how to take in all of that and have it fit my armpit better, So I think, it would be so much fabric underneath my arms if I didn't cut it out, like actually cut it. So, and that's what I just don't feel comfortable with. I know about steeking for knit items because you typically do that on the vertical, and when you unravel the knit, you have the ends that you can knot, okay, so that it doesn't unravel. And I just don't, with the pattern that I've used, the different stitches, I don't see how I could knot them so that they wouldn't unravel. Like I said, if anybody has any helpful hints, please share. I'm not embarrassed. I'm still learning. I've been doing this, just for 7 years, and I'm just honestly this year starting to do more wearables that require, fitting better, So like with a shawl, you have a little bit more flexibility, things like that. It's not as detrimental, or I want to say like, I guess important, but I told my family that I worked hard on this, and I don't care if I look like the town clown. I'm wearing it with pride. So they were laughing. They're like, no, you did a good job. And I feel like I did a good job too. I'm not saying I didn't. It's just I wish I knew more about the actual fitting and modifying. That's a good word. Modifying to where, maybe the pattern calls for X amount of inch arms, but Jamie doesn't have that long of an arm, so she needs to cut it back. You know what I'm saying? So, and knowing the construction and using my tape measure. I didn't do that. When I was crocheting the pieces, I probably should have double checked everything. So if anybody's got any helpful hints, some words of advice, I'm sure I would surely appreciate it. That's for sure. So that's what's going on with my turquoise sweater. I did have some great news. My stylist who does my hair, I've been going to her for a good 8 years. She does an amazing job, I think anyway. So I've known her for a long time, and she has a daughter, and I'm not sure if I told you guys about this or not last time, but she has a daughter who's 11 or 12. I think she's 12. And her daughter had learned a little bit, like introduced to knitting. And so she had been given a crochet project, like a kit for making a purse. And I think it was over the holidays. And so my stylist had said she's frustrated. she can't figure it out. And the mom said, I even tried, looking at it. Her mom's not a crocheter, but sometimes if you read the instructions and watch, it had a video tutorial, sometimes you can figure out some of the basics. And she's like, I can't do it, Jamie. I'm like, okay, I don't really do amigurumi. I've never made I've done a tote bag, but not like a round purse or anything like that. But I mean, I can look at it and see. And she said, well, I was wondering over spring break if you could spend some time with her and show her some tips and stuff for. I said, well, I'm not a knitter. I crochet, which is, just the hook. I said, I'm learning to knit, but I don't have the expertise to tutor her. And so she's like, no, I want her to learn to crochet. She wants to try that too, because she feels like it might be something that she would enjoy doing. I said, no problem. I'd be happy to spend some time with her over spring break. So today we met up at the library, our local library, and I asked her what her favorite colors were so that I could bring yarn in those basic colors. And she said that she likes white and oranges and green and red. So I brought a good selection, and I brought some like rainbowy type yarn too, because it's just fun, like the yarn that I had left over from that tote bag I made for the little girl at my congregation. So those kinds of things, and a couple different hues of blue. I had a navy, not a navy, I'm sorry. It was a royal blue, so it wasn't super dark. And then I had a baby blue, and then I had like a denim wash looking blue. So we met up at the library. I asked her, are you interested in making plushies? Are you interested in fashion? Because I don't know her that well. And she says, well, I really like fashion. And I was like, okay, that's good. And so I showed her some things that I had made. I said, I've made tote bags, and I told her I made my sweater. And so she was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And I said, let me tell you, you look close enough and you're going to see mistakes. I said, but you know what? That is how you learn. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of trial and error. So, don't get frustrated. It takes time. Let's have some fun, So I started her off. I said to her, do you know how to hold a crochet hook? Do you know how to do a slip knot? She goes, yep, I can do a slip knot. I was like, yes, because that's like one of the hardest things to teach. I don't know why, but it is, because it's just awkward when you're trying to hold the yarn for the first time, and you're trying to hold a hook for the first time, and she doesn't know me that well, so she's a little shy or whatnot, but she warmed right up. And so she knew how to hold. She had the knife grip on her hook. I brought a hook to go with the yarn that I had brought for her. And so I said, okay. I said, do you know how to do a chain? She goes, I think I remember. And I was like, okay, try it. Let's see what you got. And sure enough, she knew how to make a chain. I was like, perfect. This is like a star student. Like, this is for your, first time teaching. It's a dream. Okay. So I lucked out for real. So, we sat there for, I don't know, I had her do a chain of 50. I said, let's see. I said, now, she finished it. I said, okay, so show me your chain. Let's look at it together. Let me see, what do you think? Show me some differences in your chain. And she says, well, this one looks a little bigger. This one looks a little smaller. I said, yeah. Do you know what causes that? And she says, no, not really. I said, well, it's called your tension. And so how you hold your yarn, your working yarn, and your hook, you want to, and I said, it takes time. So, I screw up my tension. I have to pull back a couple stitches, go back and fix it. I explained to her, like, sometimes you'll put your project down, you want to go back to it in a couple hours and you had a rough day. That just the anxiety and frustration of the day can actually change your tension, which I didn't know that. I read that in one of my magazines, and I was surprised, but it seems reasonable, you know. So I was gonna have her do like, you know, 3 or 4 different colors of yarn and do like 100 chain length. And but she was doing like so good. I was like, I don't want to bore her, you know. Like I said, she's 12. So I was like, you know what, you're doing so well. I said, so I explained to her that I was going to have her make some more change, but I think that she's actually ready to, so I had her do a couple chains of 50, just so she could get the rhythm and hold her yarn a little bit easier. And so, so she did a couple chains, and I said, okay, let's do, I said, I was thinking about making a bookmark, because it's a project that you can, you know, keep going tonight when you get home, and tomorrow we can work on it together again. And I said, and it's something that you can use, and you'll have the satisfaction of having a project, you know, and something finished. And I don't think it'll be too overwhelming for you. And she goes, okay. So I said, go ahead and chain out 7 stitches, no, 8 stitches, you know, and then you're going to start learning to do single crochets. So she did a great job. She, you know, I said, okay, now do, keep going, go back. And I would, you know, talk her through under, over, you know, go through both. Then we worked on counting her stitches so she could make sure she had enough stitches after every row. And I showed her my very first project that I had done during the pandemic, and I was learning. So I had done like a sampler washcloth, but it was like wonky. The whole side was like, went up one side, and you know, there weren't straight edges or anything like that. So I showed her that, and I said, see, this is what I started. This is how my first project turned out. I wish I would have saved it, but I didn't. I just used it for rag and ended up tossing it, but I have a picture of it, so she got to see that. And so she did one swatch of like a green color yarn, and she did probably like 5 rows. And so then I said, okay. I said, now, do you want to, you can save this one and we can go on with it, or if you want to try being real mindful about your stitches and the shapes of your stitches, we could start another color, and you know, this could be your practice, and then we could use the next one as your project. And she goes, yeah, that sounds good. I was like, okay. So I said, well, what color do you want? She wanted to do white. I said, perfect. I said, because you're going to be able to see your stitches perfectly on a white one. So, sorry, my dog's barking, but he's outside. He's on patrol. It's dark out now. So anyway, so she did it. She started working on it. I was like, oh my gosh, you know. So she did her chain. She did, you know, she turned her work. And then at the very end, I think she'd done like 6 rows. I said to her, well, I'm going to show you what these stitch markers do, because I wanted her to keep her stitches when she goes home, you know, because you walk away from your instruction and then you kind of forget, you don't know where you were. And I said to her, I said, just so you know, anything that you mess up on, it can be fixed. So don't worry about it. I'd rather have you practice and, you know, keep going than to be too worried about making a mistake. I said, because you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does. So she was really good, and I showed her how to use the stitch markers and how to move them up, you know, the next row and whatnot. So she did really good. I was really proud of her. We stopped and we went and got a cold drink, because, you know, we'd been sitting there for a couple hours, and then we had a little snack, and I showed her how to make a scrunchie, how to work on a scrunchie. So she was really pleased about that. And that was a different type of yarn, velvet yarn. And I was teaching her to feel where the stitches are, and she did great. I mean, she did one all the way around and single crochet around the elastic. And then I had her doing double crochets in each stitch, and she didn't miss that many. She did really good. And then I had her connect the row, and I said, okay, that's it for that one. And she says, well, how come yours is, you know, wavy and mine's not? I said, well, you're going to get there. I said, because I wanted you to just feel for the stitches the first time. I said, now the next time is when you add 3 or 4 stitches of double crochet in your single crochet stitch. She's like, oh, okay. I said, yeah, it makes it wavy when you add more stitches to one. So you know what? She goes, I want to try it. I want to try it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, okay, I just want you to know, I don't want you to get frustrated at home and not come back tomorrow. She just laughed. It was cute. So I started her on the second one, and I showed her how to do multiple stitches in the one, and she did great. She did really good. So it was a great lesson. I was really proud of her. And we worked together from about 9 till almost 1 o'clock. It was a long time. So, but she did phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I was really pleased. I mean, for my first actual paying student, it was really sweet. It was a good time. So anyway, so that's what's new with me. I am excited that we have 2 more classes, and I think that maybe her mom will have her come like maybe twice a month, start a project. And, I told her, I said, you can call me, we can FaceTime, I can help you get through it. If you want a one-on-one session, you probably would only need an hour, 2 tops, to get on to the next level. So, she's doing really well. So that's basically the plan. And since I finished my cardigan, I can start a new project. Yay! So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been looking on Pinterest for some inspo. So I'm looking forward to starting my new project. So we'll see what I can come up with. Anyway, so that's about it. That's my news. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world. If you can just give me a shout out. If you made it this far, put a little emoji down in the comments. I would love that. A little coffee cup emoji or yarn ball or something like that. That would be awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put the description in the description box. Excuse me. Some of the information, my Etsy page, Instagram. Give me a shout out on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to post some of the stuff you're working on, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what you're drumming up for the spring. What are you guys doing? So anyway, if you could just say hi, it would be great. If there's anything out there you guys have questions about, I'm happy to do research. I've been trying to figure out what kind of crochet along I want to start. I'm not sure yet. If you guys have something, a suggestion, I'm open for suggestions. So anyway, I just wanted to come on and say hi and tell you my good news and show you my sweater that I finished up. So I will talk to you soon. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's family's okay. The world is kind of stressful right now. There's a lot going on. But I just wanted to come out and say hello, and I hope everybody's doing well. Be kind to each other. Spend time with your families. Don't take things for granted. Life is short, make the best of it. I found the better attitude I have, the happier my surroundings. So I try real hard. Some days are easy, some not so much. So anyway, I just want to say hi and goodbye. Take care until next week, you guys. And again, thank you for stopping by. Bye-bye.